All right. Are we live? Let's see. Oh. All right. Looks like we are live now. Welcome to my weekly AMA or Ask Me Anything, where I will be answering all business strategy, marketing, and technology questions live for free. And I plan on doing this every Wednesday at noon Pacific time. So this is our first broadcast. So I'm super excited to go live right now to answer a whole bunch of questions. So the questions that we have today are queued up. I asked, I think it was last week when I asked my audience and different groups to post questions on the link on this link, which is kind of a wrong link. Kind of screwed that one up right away. All right, there we go. So bit.ly RenzaGroup AMA, that's where we're gathering all the questions. So just before we start, I want to do a quick disclaimer. All right, I will do my best to answer these questions, all the questions that have lined up based on my previous experiences and working knowledge on these topics. Most answers to these questions they're merely a starting point and may not be a final solution to a given problem. As you all know, typical solutions provided by my firm requires a lot more context and research than a single line of question. That said, let's dive right in. So the first question is from Andy. Says here, I'm having trouble managing my social media. I want to on all the major channels, but it is so much work. How do you manage it, or what is the best way to manage it? I feel like I'm spread too thin. So thank you for this question, Andy. It's a really good question. So there are a few reasons why most people don't want to manage their social media in terms of business. Okay, there's three reasons. One is they're not good at it. Right. Second is they don't have the time, like you. You said you're spread too thin, so I'm assuming that's a time issue. And third is actually, there's two reasons. So they're either not good at it or they just don't have the time. These are the typical reasons why we don't want to manage our social media. The short answer to this is a principle that we should just hire our weaknesses, or hire your weakness. By that, I mean, I'll just outsource it, because this will fix the time issue. Because your issue is with time, you're spread too thin, working a lot in your business. So you pretty much answered the question. Just outsource it. Now, if you don't want to spend money on outsourcing, right? Because not everybody has the funds to outsource social media, even though we know that it's an important piece in our marketing. If you don't want to spend money on outsourcing, you could probably change your strategy, because social media management does take a lot of time, but it depends on how you do it. So there's an approach to it. So the key to effective content or social media marketing is consistency. You don't need to post a lot. I don't know how often you post right now, but you don't need to post a lot. The key is being consistent. So if you're posting once a week, every Tuesday, just make sure that you do it once a week, every Tuesday, right? So you don't, that trumps a staggered posting. Right, so if you're posting every now and then and you're inconsistent, it's less effective than posting once per week, as long as you're consistent. I would start there if you don't want to spend money. Just personally, I don't do content marketing, but if or when I do, I will definitely just outsource it because number one, I'm not good at it, and frankly, I don't want to do it. I don't want to manage my social media. I will just outsource it because money is always faster than time. Just keep that in mind. Money is faster than time. So all the time that I will save by not doing it can be used elsewhere in my business where I could be more effective than doing social media posts. So thank you for this question, Andy. I hope it helps. But yeah, it's easier to just outsource it if you have the funds and just make it part of your budget. So next question is from Avi. It says here, how do I find the right price point for new services I offer when first to market? So this is a really interesting question. I really like this question. So how do I find the right price point? And this answer is very specific, right? Because you're saying you are first to market. So this tells me that nobody else can solve this problem except for you or the service that you're providing. This is good because if you're the sole solution provider for this problem, it's easier to command the price, right? So it's easier to come up with pricing. The question is right now, what is the perceived value of your service? Meaning, does your service solve a bleeding neck problem, right? Because if it's a bleeding neck problem, if it solves a really big issue, then you can charge as high as you want, right? Depending on the value that your service provides to the customer. So asking the question, what's going to happen to the customer if that problem isn't solved? So that's the biggest thing, right? I'm assuming that it is a bleeding neck solution. Because if it's not a bleeding neck solution, then you can't really charge a whole lot for it because people won't pay for it. So if that's the case, if this is if you're solving a bleeding neck problem, to find your pricing, all you need is basic math, right? So we'll start with how much do you want to make per month, right? That's the first question. How much do you want to make per month? Let's say, just for the sake of this discussion, let's say you want to make $50,000 a month, right? Let's just put that number out there. Say, I want to make $50,000 a month. Now, the next question is, how much time does your service take for each customer, right? I don't know what your service is. You said you're first to market, so I have no idea what that is. So the next question to answer is, how much time does your service take for each customer? So let's assume that whatever you do for your customer takes 10 hours per week per customer. That's just an assumption. And you want to make $50,000 a month. Now, the next question is, how many hours do you want to work per week, right? So let's use these three numbers. You want to make $50,000 a month. Your service takes about 10 hours per week per customer to solve their problem, and you want to work a typical 40-hour week. Let's just give that an example, right? You're willing to work 40 hours per week. You want to make 50 grand. So if your service takes 10 hours a week per customer, right, and you want to work 40 hours per week, so that means you can serve 4 customers per week, right? 4 customers per week, that's 16 customers per month. So you want to make 50 grand a month, so $50,000 divided by, I already did the math here, $50,000 divided by 16 is 3,125, right? So if you want to make 50 grand a month and it takes 10 hours to solve a problem for this service and you want to work 40 hours a week, you should charge at the minimum 3,125 for your service, right? And from then on, you just change the numbers depending on how you want to scale. If you want to work less hours, let's say you just want to work 20 hours, right? So 50, that means you can only serve 8 customers per week or per month. Sorry, 8 customers per month. So $50,000 divided by 8, that means you should charge $6,250. Again, I don't know what your service is. I don't know what you do. But this is kind of how the basics of figuring out your pricing. If you're solving a really a bleeding neck problem, right? You can charge as high as you want, right? Depending on how valuable your solution is to your customer. So if you're solving a bleeding neck problem, you can just scale from there. Again, this is just like off the top of my head, but I'm assuming that, I would love to hear about your service, what that service is, because now I'm interested. You're saying you're first to market. It's really hard to find services that are first to market. So what time is it? Oh, you know what? I know we can easily go crazy on these questions, so I'm going to put a timer. Let's do 45 minutes from now, because I don't want to lose track of time. Okay. I hope that if it's unclear, Avi, feel free to email me. You should have received an email confirmation for your question. So you have my email address. Just contact me if that answer is unclear. Okay. Next question. Hello, any tips on getting sales? From Tony. Any tips on getting sales? Yes. Sell. If you're not getting sales, maybe you're not selling. So you got to sell. And by selling, I don't mean just running ads. A lot of businesses think that selling is just running Facebook ads, spending money on ads. That's selling. That is part of selling, but it is not just selling. There's a lot of ways to sell. Or some people just wait because they have a product or a service that quote unquote sells itself, right? I talked to some business owners where they're like, oh yeah, my product or my service sells itself. That is, I refuse to believe that, because nothing will sell itself. If you're not selling, yes, maybe it'll sell once or twice, but if you want to make it sustainable, if you want to make it a real business that you're making money, it's not going to sell itself. You have to sell, right? Again, it's not just running ads. Part of selling is really finding your customers, right? Do you know who your customer is? Who's your ideal customer? Finding them, talking to them. How's your marketing? How's your social media activity? This is a very loaded question, but the key to this is, if you're not getting sales, you have to sell, and there are many ways to sell. I'm selling right now, for example. Yes, I'm not offering anything, but this is part of my sales process. Like, I am doing this AMA to get myself out there, and I'm providing value to people for free, because someday someone watching this saying, hey, this guy can solve my problems, then going to contact me and we're going to have some sort of engagement, right? So this is a part of me selling, is providing value. Again, without a whole lot of context, it's really hard to pinpoint a particular answer. But yeah, tips on getting sales: sell. Because if you're not getting sales, that means, to me, in my book, you're not selling. All right, next question. Thank you, Tony, for that question. Next up is, what advice would you give to someone about how to move from a consumer to a producer mindset? And this is an anonymous question. I'm assuming you're talking about social media, like consuming versus producing social media content. It's a great question though, because a lot of us really consume, and even business owners that I consult with, we are consumption based. If you audit your time, the time you spend consuming social media, it's ridiculous. People spend a lot of time in social media. So I'm happy to hear that you're someone who wants to be wants to produce versus consume. Um, what advice can I give? So again, limit your consumption. Right, that's the first step. Because if we don't have time to produce, because if our time is all in the consumption of social media, then we won't have time to produce, right? So first step is uh, balance your consuming time. That's the first step, I think, um, and really limit it. Uh, this is something that I did. I think it's been a couple or 3 months ago where I unfollowed a lot of accounts and people in social media. So basically, on my Facebook and Instagram, if we haven't interacted socially within social media, I didn't unfriend, but I unfollowed because I found that my feed is just a lot of noise, politics. Especially this year, a lot of the things that I don't want to hear about, I unfollowed. And now my stream is pretty clean. It's all about businesses that I care about, topics that I care about, and those are the stuff that I see. And that really reduced my consumption time because I wasn't just like scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. So try to do that, right? Audit your social media and look at your feed. Are there a lot of noise? And then get rid of that noise. That's step one. Now you have the time to produce your content. Now, this is, I don't know what you do. I don't know what is it you want to produce, but there's a lot of ways to start doing that. Once you have the time to produce, then work on your content. What are you selling? Who are you talking to? What's your messaging, right? The very, very first step here, if you haven't done it, is, again, I keep talking about it, identify who your dream customer is. And by that, I mean, you really have to think of who that person is, that one person, not a group, right? That one person, you can even put a name on it, right? George, for example, 35 to 38 years old, entrepreneur. It has to be your target person, right? Once you have that avatar, once you have that dream customer, when you start producing content, you should produce content that talks to that person, right? Don't talk to everyone. This is one of the biggest mistake that businesses make, is they try to talk to everyone. So it's like, oh, what about this demographic? What about that demographic? The problem with that is, if you talk to if you try to speak to everyone, you're speaking to no one, because now you end up with customers you don't like. You end up with clients that are headaches, that are pain in the butts. So that sorry, going off on a tangent here, but the key is figure out that right person, and whatever content you produce, talk to that one person. And trust me, your message will resonate, and you'll start getting feedback from people that are your ideal customers, that are your ideal clients. So again, that's it. Just kind of snowballed into this whole talk about your marketing. But really, the first step from consumer to a producer mindset: reduce your consumption so you have time to produce. That's the very, very first step. Hope that helps. Thank you, Anonymous. By the way, if you guys want to send your questions or submit your questions, you can put a check mark so it's anonymous. So I don't have to mention your name here. All right. Next question. Let me take a sip of my coffee. Next question. This is a long question. my idea has many patents filed by the same company, and my ultimate fear is launching the product, then being slapped with the cease operations by the patented company. Do you guys have any recommendations or insights on how to go about avoiding patent infringement? Thank you, Anna. Okay. So you have an idea that has many patents filed by the same company or by other, I'm assuming it's other people that already patented your idea. So if it's already patented, it's not your idea, right? Let's just get that clear. Somebody already had that same idea and patented it. So your fear is launching the product, then being slapped with a cease operations or a cease and desist by the patent company, which is probably their first step. If they see you're doing something or you're selling something that they already patented, then yeah, you're going to get a cease and desist. Now, the question is, do you have any recommendations or insights on how to go about avoiding patent infringement? So is the question for them? Because if you want to avoid being slapped with a cease and desist, then don't infringe the patent. I mean, that's kind of the thing, right? If it's already patented, don't do it. Unless, now, I don't know what that idea is, and I don't know what patents you're infringing, but there are ways around it. Is it a direct infringement, or is it sort of similar to what's already patented? If it's the same exact thing that you're doing or selling that is patented, if you don't want to be slapped with a cease and desist, then don't do it. Just don't, because you are going to you're going to get slapped by a cease and desist. And depending on how much money this company has to prosecute that patent, then you might be in trouble. Most companies will, and you have to take this with a grain of salt, okay? If I have a patent and somebody else tries to infringe it, then my attorneys will send a cease and desist, right? Now, as a company, I have an option. If that person who infringed my patent or my intellectual property kept doing it anyway, even after a cease and desist, my option is to either let it go, right, or prosecute that infringement. Now, if I have money to prosecute, because it costs a lot of money to prosecute a patent or a trademark or whatever IP infringement. If I had the money, then you're in trouble because I'm going to take you to court. So, if you still want to infringe, you better hope that they don't have money. That all you get is a cease and desist. But my official advice, just don't. I mean, do you have any other ideas? Is there a way you can change it so it doesn't directly infringe it? Or is it, I don't know if it's a product or a service. If it's a product, can you make it a derivative of that patented product? There's other ways to do it depending on what it is. But just a rule of thumb, if you know you're infringing, then you should just stop. Don't do it. Otherwise, you're risking prosecution and you're risking losing whatever you have, right? Your company, even personal assets, whatever, depending on who you are. All right. So, Anna, don't do it. That's my advice. All right. Thank you for that question, though. That was an interesting question. Next question. Okay. Excluding money, what motivates you as an entrepreneur? By Chris. Okay, so this is more like a personal question. And I appreciate this because I for one, I'm not motivated by money. I think money is important. because I can't do what I do without money. I can't expand my business without money. I cannot scale without money. So money is important, but it's not my primary motivator. My motivator as an entrepreneur, just looking at all the businesses that I've launched and failed in the past 20, actually not even including when I was a kid, I had, you know, to little businesses. I sold whatever I could when I was younger. But anyway, just going over the past couple of decades, what motivates me is the results that I provide to my clients. Whatever it is, right now I do have multiple businesses, and all of them are sort of results oriented. What gives me the high, why I do what I do, is because of that, the results. When you help small businesses, and either you save them money or you help them make money and they light up, or you solve a problem they have and they light up, to me, that's my motivator. That gives me the high. It's the result, the positive results that I provide my clients. That's my motivating factor. That's what makes me excited to get up every morning. I love Monday mornings. As you know, so you hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, I hate Mondays." I love Monday mornings. It's because that's when everybody starts their week. Mostly, right? Most businesses. And I don't know. I always wanted to see numbers. I always wanted to see, okay, how did the solution help you? And just hearing from my clients how I help them, that is really, I know I keep going over and over, but yeah, that's the results. If it's one word, if you're looking for a one word answer of my motivation, is the result. Because nothing makes me happier than a successful client. Because if they're successful, that means I'm successful because I've done my job. And that's what keeps me going and going and going and going. So that's my answer. Thank you for this question, Chris. I love it. Next question is, how do I promote my business in a very saturated market? It's a great question. So when it comes to the market, I personally believe that it's only saturated if you're the same as everybody else in that market. Sometimes I talk to businesses, I talk to people, and they're like, yeah, but the market is so saturated. That is really an excuse. Because if you're the same as everybody else, that's the only time it's saturated. But you don't have to be the same as everybody else. And this is a sort of mindset that I try to teach my clients and students is, you have to be different, right? Even if you're selling the same thing, right? So for example, if I don't know, what can I use as an example here that's the same? Okay, I got two books here, right? If you have a competitor, right? Another business that sells this, and you're selling the same book, right? Let's just assume it's the same book. Sorry, I don't have props here. You're selling this, and the other person is selling this, right? There's ways to be different, even if you're selling the same product or the same service, right? And this, I can go a full 4 hours on this topic. The key is being different. And so let's say you're selling a product or a service, you have to change that mindset. Most people think, oh, I sell a product or I sell a service. The mindset here is you have to sell a solution, right? Because every product and every service is actually a solution to someone's problem, right? let's look at this for example. This is a product. This is a lens that you put in on a phone. It's on for my old phone, right? That's a product. But this is actually a solution to a problem, right? Because why do people buy this product? This is an 8mm lens because they want a wider shot that their iPhone can't provide, right? So that's the problem. I want a wide shot. My iPhone's not wide enough. I have to buy this lens. All right, you have to have that kind of mentality. What you're providing is not a lens. You're providing a solution. Now, again, you market based on the solution or the problem you're solving. So your wording, your copy, everything, the way you present your offer is based on a solution to a problem versus just a product. That will make you different from the person next door that sells the same thing. Because the person next door might be saying, oh, here's a lens for your iPhone, right? Whereas you can change your approach saying, hey, are you having a problem shooting wide landscape photos using your iPhone? Then I have a solution for you. It's this. And then you outline the benefits of buying this. That alone makes you different from the guy next door or the person next door, even if you're selling the same product, right? So, even if it's a saturated market, if your messaging is different and your approach is different and your mindset is different, then you can dominate that market, right? Now, if everybody in that market is already doing the same thing that you do, like you can't be any more different, what you do is you niche down, right? Saying, what's your market? Oh, I am, so let's go back to this product, right? So you're marketing to people, you're marketing to iPhone users, right? Now you can niche down. So maybe you can niche down to iPhone users that love photography, right? Now you have a smaller market. Right? Now you're creating your own sub-market where you're the only one there versus everybody else is on the iPhone market, right? There's 20 million people in that market, but it's just all over the place. So now you niche down. Maybe there's only 5 million people in that sub-market, but you're the only one there. So having that kind of mentality, that helps you kind of hone in on your target market. So the key is being different in your messaging and your offer, but it starts with a mindset. Hope that makes sense. Again, with this one, I can go 4 hours. I actually have a class about this, a webinar about this that really dials deep into your finding your avatar, finding your market, and then crafting your messaging. So, but in a nutshell, I hope that helps. Okay. This is another question from Andy. Thank you for your question, Andy. What are your top 5 tips you would give to someone just starting out in e-commerce? I don't know if I have 5 tips, but we can start with, let's see how many tips we can do, right? But let's start with the most important one. First tip, if you're starting out in e-commerce, and we're talking e-commerce, that means product, right? Number 1 is product validation. That is very, 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 very important. A lot of people think that just because I think this is so cool that it's going to sell. It's not, it doesn't always work that way. And this is based on my own experience too. I've had products. I did drop shipping. I did e-commerce where at some point I thought, hey, this is a great product. I think this is going to sell. Then I did everything. I did a full launch, right? I got the website, I got inventory, marketing, everything. So I spent money trying to launch the product, but it bombed because I didn't do product validation. So by product validation, it's really getting out of your head and really doing research, doing market research and being objective about it and finding out, is this product really going to sell? Are people buying this product, right? And there's ways to do that. And I'm going to give you on product validation, there's a few ways, right? So you look at Amazon. Are people buying it? Is it, if you search for this product in Amazon, are people buying it, right? So if people are buying it, how long have they been buying it from, right? So you can do research on how long has this been selling and look at that data. If people are buying it, then that's good, right? If you're, I'm going to go on a service, for example. If you're doing a service, well, let's focus on e-commerce since that's what your question is. So look at the product. Is it already selling? If it's an idea that you just came up with and you thought it's cool, but you don't really see it selling on Amazon or eBay or Etsy, then it might not be a good idea because it might not sell. You can take a risk, spend money on marketing, spend money on inventory, whatever, but you're taking a risk. So number one is product validation. Tip number two, someone starting out in e-commerce is marketing. If you're starting out and you have no idea how to market, then you need to talk to someone that knows how to market. Because it takes, especially if you're taking inventory, you're buying bulk that you want to sell, make sure that your marketing skills are on point, because that once you get the green light and you say go, I'm going to do this, you're going to be bleeding money, right? And if you don't have a marketing strategy in place to sell and get that money back, then over time you're going to be losing money. So make sure you have a marketing plan even before you decide that you want to do it. Third, customer service. I think that's important, just based on, I gauge how good of a company is based on how they treat their customers, right? Customer service, your communication. Sometimes I would buy something from a random Shopify website. I won't even get a confirmation. I won't get tracking. It's like, I don't know, I know the money got out from my credit card, but when am I going to get the product? Is it going to take 3 days, 5 days? If I don't get communication from the owner, then I'm most likely I won't be buying from that store again, right? So customer service is key. There's a lot of ways you can automate that. Again, this is a whole e-commerce topic, but yeah, so we'll keep it at 3. I don't have 5 tips for the top of my head, but if you can do product validation, you have a marketing plan, and you have an automated customer service, that alone should be a good starting point for you to take off in your e-commerce. Thank you, Andy, for that question. And next question is from Andy again. Everyone says content is king, but what kind of content should we be creating? Okay, so it's true. Well, actually, I shouldn't say it's true. I don't think content is king personally, but I think content is important. What kind of content should we be creating? So I want to go back to my previous, I think we spoke about this earlier, about content that speaks to your market. And I want to emphasize on that. Most people put out content for everyone. And even if it's a bigger niche, it's very broad. It's not targeted. So for someone that is just walking by, doesn't hear it, because it's not like, if I'm walking and somebody screams, "Hey, you," right, towards my direction, I might not look. But if I'm walking and someone screams, "Hey, Renji," and then 100%, I'm going to look because I know that person is talking to me, and I'm going to give that person my attention, right? Given that, the content has to speak to your market. And by market, I don't mean everyone in your market. I believe that every business, every product, every service has an ideal customer. Or ideal customer is your dream customer, your dream client, right? So that's the number one thing you got to do. Who this person is, right? I have and I guess I can share with you right now who my ideal customer is. So my ideal customer is his name is Frank. He is 25 to 48 years old, right? 25 to 48 years old. He is a service-based entrepreneur. And he's a service-based entrepreneur. He's making about $200,000 a year. And he's also results-oriented, whereas he doesn't think about the money. He cares about his customers. And he's not afraid to try new things. But at the same time, he's also very careful about the things he consumes on the internet, and he does his own research on things, and he loves psychology. Those are just the few key points about Frank. And Frank is my ideal customer. So whenever I put something out, whenever I if I'm going to do a blog post or a social media post or anything where I'm speaking in front of the camera, I'm going to be talking to Frank because I understand what his problems are. I know what he needs. I know how I can help him, right? So now Frank is not the only Frank in the world. There might be 10,000 or 100,000 Franks, right? I might not see them right now, but if my messaging talks to somebody like Frank, when they're walking and they hear my voice going their direction, they're going to look and they're going to pay attention to what I have to say. That's the content that you want to put out. Find out who your person is, put a name, right? It could be George, it could be whatever, right? You name your customer, and you just really have to know a lot about this person. How old is the person? What are his problems? How he thinks, how he responds to social media posts, where does he spend his time, who does he hang out with, right? Once you have that profile in your mind, and now your content talks to that person, just keep doing that. Talk to that person, and in time you see the different Franks, the Georges, coming out and contacting you and hiring you or buying your product. Because once people know that they are heard and understood, they will pay money. They will buy what you're offering, right? Like, my experience is even if I, as a problem solver, even if I don't have the solution right away, as long as I can make them understand or let them know, make them feel that I understand their problem, we form that bond and they listen to me and I have their attention. So as I'm crafting a solution, I know I have their attention and they feel understood. They're going to pay attention. So you want to do that. Craft content that speaks to that person, whoever your ideal avatar is. Does that make sense? I hope it helps. Again, this is a whole other conversation, a longer conversation. But that's the general idea. Find that person and speak to that person. Again, if you're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to no one. So you got to speak to, it's like a dog whistle, right? A dog whistle, when you blow a dog whistle, like other humans around you won't hear it, but guess who hears it? The dog hears it, that's all you need. You need for that one person to hear it, to listen, and to respond, right? So craft your dog whistle, Andy. Thank you again for that question. Whew, that was got a little heated over there. Okay, we got 11 minutes, and I got a bunch more questions here. So, next, just a pretty vague question: how to grow an Instagram page? How to grow an Instagram page? I don't have a huge following on my. I don't honestly. I don't use my Instagram on my business. But I did advise a few clients about this, and I'm going to share that advice with you, Sanjay. I don't know what your Instagram page looks like, but if your Instagram is a mixture of like people, like family, friends, people from church, people from work, and then clients, right? And I think most Instagram pages are like that, where you have like a whole bunch of different groups of people. If you want to grow it on a business perspective, this is an advice that I actually got. This is not my own. I didn't come up with this, but this I'm going to give credit to Russell Brunson for this. So what you do is you stagger your posts, right? You stagger your posts. So one post talks about your family, one talks is for your friends. The next post is about church. Next post is about business, and you do it in however order, but in that sequence. And the reason why is that people at church, for example, will pay attention to your posts about church, right? But if you post consistently about business, what they do is they might unfollow you. So you want to keep them engaged. So you want to stagger your posts where you're not going to saturate one group. Does that make sense? And if you want to grow your business, right? If you do that, then people will not unfollow you and they will stay engaged. And then if, let's say, one of your friends saw a post about your business, and then they might get curious, right? Say, hey, what is this you're selling? What is this you're offering? And that person can probably go into the business bucket, right? Now it could turn into a client, it could turn into a customer, whatever. But that's one thing to grow it first, by not alienating people that's already following you, right? Now in terms of growth, in order for you to grow, and this is on anything, not just an Instagram page, you need to provide value, right? And I keep insisting that. So if your posts are just all about like you selling, hey, you should buy this from me, hey, you should, then you're not providing value, you're just selling, right? So that's one thing I want to, I'd suggest you be careful of. Just don't just keep selling, provide value, because that's one way people stay with you and listen and pay attention, is if they're getting something out of you, especially from social media. You can't really expect everyone in your social media account to just buy whatever you're selling, right? So provide value. Use hashtags, and do cross promotion, right? So if you're doing Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, YouTube, cross promote it, as long as don't appear desperate that, hey, you need that you're just selling and selling and selling. Again, this is not a silver bullet that'll fix and grow your Instagram, but that's an approach that I would probably start with if I wanted to grow my Instagram. But unfortunately, I don't use Instagram for my business. But maybe I will in the future. But if I did, and when I do, that's what I would probably start with. So I hope it's helpful. Sanjay, thank you for that question. Next, we got 6 minutes. Okay, next, here. This is from Ken. How do I grow my business revenue? And revenue in all caps. I'm assuming that you're already making money. You just want to grow and you just want to scale, right? First thing I would ask you if we were on the phone right now is, how are you selling, right? Do you have the room to scale? There's a lot of ways to grow your revenue. But a lot of it depends on what your infrastructure is like. Are you going to be able to handle more sales? Are you able to handle more customers? How's your time? Are you spread thin like Andy, right? In the beginning, he said he's spread thin. So if you're spread thin, that means how are you going to be able to serve more people? So to answer your question in one word is to optimize. Optimize your business, however it is, right? If you want to grow your business revenue, you need to have the time first to be able to take in more customers, or if you're selling a product, you still need to work on logistics, right? So free up your time, optimize your business. Are you automating? If you're spending time in front of the computer all day typing stuff, printing out labels, generating whatever documents, so all that stuff, learn about automation and automate whatever you can, and that'll free up a lot of your time. I do help a lot of people with automation, and it just looking into that, the time that you'll save, it can save you tens, if not hundreds of hours per month. If you're a legitimate business that's doing full operations every day, look at automation and optimization. Those are the first two things that I would look into if you want to grow your business revenue, right? Because that's the only way to scale. You can't scale if you can't take more people or customers. All right. We have time for one more question, which is perfect. Three minutes. Next. Oh, I guess I didn't type this. The question is, hold on, let me do this. Last question of the day is, and this is also anonymous. Amazon. This is exactly what I received. Amazon or website ? So I'm assuming this question is about e-commerce, right? The big answer here is it depends. Amazon has all the traffic in there. It depends on the product. Do you have a well-validated product? Do you have a product that you know it's going to sell? So again, that question earlier about e-com is product validation. Assuming that you have a product that sells, Amazon has the traffic, it has the people. You just have to use the right keyword. So when they search for whatever, they find your product, right? The thing with Amazon is it costs a lot of money compared to running in your own website. So there's no one, you have to test. Amazon has the traffic, but it also has a lot of overhead. You have to pay for the fulfillment fees, and you have to send them the product if you want them to fulfill your product, or if you want to fulfill the product yourself, you have to really be able to ship the product next day or 2 days, right? And that costs money too. Now, versus website where you don't have a lot of overhead. If you have a Shopify site, for example, you pay $29 a month for Shopify and Facebook ads. The money that the overhead money you're using in Amazon, you could use that on Facebook ads. If you're properly targeted, if you have your targeting on point and you have your copy on point and you have a winning product that is validated by the market, then you might be more successful with a website. But you have to know about Facebook ads, right? And that's something that you have to pay attention to every single day if you're running Facebook ads, pushing out a product from a website. Now, Amazon, it's more of a search thing where people search for your product, and you already have like millions, if not billions, of people on Amazon, right? There's no one right way without knowing what your product is and how much money you want to spend. I can't tell you which one. There's pros and cons on both, and I just mentioned a few. But yeah, if you can ask another question, send it to me because it was anonymous, right? So if you want to resubmit your question, but give me more context so we can give you a better answer. But yeah, Amazon or website, yes and no on both, depending on what product you're selling and how much money do you have you can spend daily, right, for marketing. And that is we made it 5, 4, 3, 2. We made the timer 45 minutes. Not bad for our first AMA. I really appreciate everyone sending your questions. We'll do this again next week. Same exact day, Wednesday at noon. Same channel. If you have any, again, business strategy, which we covered some business strategy, marketing. We did cover some marketing, technology. We didn't get a lot of technology questions, but if you do, feel free to pop it in. Here's the link where you can pop in and submit your questions, and we'll try to answer as much as I can next week. Again, this is fun. This is something that I really enjoy, and again, the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to serve more people. And you don't have to be a client. You don't have to be a part of any of my coaching programs. You could be anyone. You could be anonymous. Just ask your question and then tune in on every Wednesday, and we'll answer your questions. Again, thank you for being here, and I'll catch you on the next broadcast.